Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are joining us in this live lesson, or even if you are watching this in the future, welcome. We're glad to have you here. We have an amazing, incredible, super fantastic, trying to think of how many more adjectives I can use to describe this lesson. We just have a really great lesson for you. If you're joining us, please write your name and tell us where you're from in the chat. Also, like I said, if you are watching this later, again, use the comments section, write your name, tell us where you're from. We want to hear from you because we want you to interact. This is Interactive English. And my name is Wes from Interactive English. Awesome. Hello, Pearl from India. Excellent. Welcome. And again, we have a great lesson, so let's just get right into it. Today, we are going to talk about building vocabulary, all right? And how to effectively build your vocabulary and do it quickly. And this is something that I think many of us are working on. We all would like to expand our vocabulary and improve our vocabulary because that just helps with fluency. So again, if you're just joining us in the chat, write your name, tell us where you're from. Rasha from Iraq, welcome. Brazil is here, France is here, awesome, excellent. We're glad to have you. Jordan, living in Jordan, Mongolia. We got people from everywhere. That's awesome. So, as I said, we are going to talk about how to effectively build your vocabulary and do this quickly, all right? And the reason I say quickly is not that you're going to do it faster, but the key here is remembering what you learn. I think too often we learn new words and we learn 10 words and we forget 6 of them the next week. So then really we've only learned 4 words. But if we're able to remember everything that we are learning, all of those words, then that is going to help us build our vocabulary much quicker than most. And the way we're going to do this is right there. We are going to learn phrases and not words, okay? I know we all study vocabulary, we do it differently, but today I want to focus on learning phrases and 3 things that you can do to effectively build your vocabulary. So let's go ahead and take a look at different ways to enhance your vocabulary. So if you are in the chat right now, what I want you to do is tell me a vocabulary word or a phrase that you have recently learned, okay? I want you to tell me one that you've recently learned because if you're here, if you're with us, that means that you are studying English, you are trying to improve your English. So I imagine that within the last week or within the last month, you've learned some new word or phrase, so write it in the chat. Let us know. Again, if you're watching this later, write it in the comments section. Tell us what word or words you have learned recently. So here, first, before we talk about how to enhance our vocabulary, we need to really understand, well, what is vocabulary? Vocabulary is all of the words that are known and used in a particular language. I think one of the things that is difficult is that when we think of vocabulary, I think a lot of times we think of just these single individual words. And I think that makes sense why people think that way, because when you learn a new word, most of the times we go to the dictionary. We want to know what that word means. And it's a vocabulary word, but vocabulary is not just a single word. It is a collection of all the words. So again, in the chat, hi, again, new people are joining us. Write a word that you have learned recently. What's a new vocabulary word, or what's a new phrase or expression, something that you've learned yesterday? We have somebody yesterday. I heard the new phrase, take something apart. Yeah, to disassemble something, to take something apart. Excellent. Thank you, Rasha. Again, write some other words in there. What are some new things that you're learning? I think, again, other people would like to know the new vocabulary that people are learning. So the ways that we are going to enhance our vocabulary, your vocabulary today, how we're going to enhance it, and you are going to learn new words, and you are going to learn them quickly. I want to talk about 3 things, and they're right here in front of you. Collocations, expressions, and then this idea, which I want to tell you about, is called chunking. And this is more of a way of studying vocabulary that I think will help you in the future. Especially if you are at an intermediate to advanced level, this will be very useful. In other words, somebody wrote repercussion. Excellent. Awesome. So we are learning all these new words. And I want to start with collocations, okay? And I want to talk to you about that. This is something that I think is becoming more popular in language learning, okay? So, collocations are words that are frequently used together. And I think people are using this more often in the classroom or studying a language because, again, it makes sense. If words are frequently used together, why would you just want to learn one individual word? Why not learn the words that usually go before it? Or why not learn the words that usually go after it? So here, a lot of times the collocations are used with common verbs. So here I have an example. I have 4 very common verbs in English: take, have, make, and do, and words that are frequently used with them. So again, if you're joining us in the chat, just tell us your name, where you're from. Also, what I want you to do right now is we're looking at these collocations, okay? Can you think of any others with these verbs? Take, have, make, or do, okay? What are some other collocations, words that we frequently use with these verbs? So for example, I gave you, let's look at take right now. So we can say, take a rest. You can take a shower. You could also take a bath. And you could take a chance. So these are words that are frequently used with take. And there's a whole bunch of them. It's not just these. I've just chosen 3 as an example. So if you can think of any other collocations with take, just write them in the chat. Let's see how many that we can come up with. What are other things that people take? How do we use that verb? Let's look at have, okay? Again, you can have fun. You can have breakfast. You can have lunch. You can have dinner. You can also have a drink. So the reason this is important is because nowadays, instead of just teaching people one word, a vocabulary word like breakfast, it's more important, it's more helpful to teach learners the words that go with that, okay? You have breakfast, so that you're building your vocabulary. You're learning 2 words instead of just one, and they're associating breakfast with the verb have, okay? What did you have for breakfast, all right? Other ones that we use, make, okay? You can make a mistake. You can make some noise. You can also make a wish, all right? And do. What are some things that you do? You can do homework. You can do business. You could even do nothing. Or you could do your laundry, all right? There's a lot of different things that you can use with do. So again, if you can think of any right now, just write them in the chat. What are some things, more things that you take? What are some things that you have? What are some things that you make and do? And again, if you're watching this later on, write it in the comments. We want you to be active in our community, in our classroom. So please, the more you write, the better. It's going to help you. Okay, we got an example. Tomorrow we will have a meeting. Please take note of it. Exactly, you can also have a meeting. Collocations are very important. We could also say get some rest. Excellent, perfect. Great examples that you guys are giving. So these are important because these are words that we use together, and we use regularly, we use them frequently. All right, so they are very useful when we're talking about building your vocabulary, expanding your vocabulary. And if you want, collocations, if you want to learn more about them, just go to Google and type collocations into the search, English collocations, and you will find a bunch of different web pages that list a lot of common ones in English. And these are good ones to study. They're good ones to make flashcards out of. Again, if you're just joining us, we are talking about ways to improve and build your vocabulary and do it quickly. So you can say hi, say what's up in the chat and where you're joining us from. Let's look at the next one that I want to talk to you about, which is Okay, expressions. This is another good way to build your vocabulary. All right. So in the chat, again, I'm going to give you guys a little assignment with each one. I want you to write, what is your favorite English expression? And an expression could be many different things. It could be a saying, it could be a proverb, it could be an idiom. Those are all different types of expressions, because what are we doing with expressions? Well, we are expressing our thoughts and our opinions about something. We are making them known. So common expressions. What your favorite expression? Somebody wrote, "What's up?" Exactly. That is one of my favorite expressions, the way to say hello. What's up, everyone? What's up? If you're joining us in today, the lesson right now, write your name, tell us where you're from in the chat. So let's look at some of these expressions, okay? And again, if you learn these expressions without focusing on the individual words, it's going to help you with your fluency. So again, let's look at the first one. It is just a saying, when in Rome. The entire saying goes, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. And this just basically means that if you are traveling somewhere, for example, if anybody, some of you, maybe I think somebody's from Brazil, all right? If I go to Brazil, all right, then I should kind of try to do what other people in Brazil do. I should eat at the same time that those people are eating. I should eat the same things. I should use the same form of transportation, okay? You kind of try to do this not only to be polite, but also to learn about different cultures. So again, I know one of you mentioned you're from Mongolia. So if I go to Mongolia, again, I should learn about how people live and what they do, and I should do this. And if somebody asks, like, well, why are you doing this? Yeah, when in Rome, when in Rome, you need to do things the way that you should. And this is a popular expression. Somebody's joining it. Excellent. From, I can't even pronounce it, Kazakhstan. Is that Kazakhstan? Excellent. Awesome. So my favorite idiom is struggle to get what you really deserve. Excellent. Awesome. Make sure, take care. You guys are writing some great examples of different idioms that people use. So when in Rome is a popular saying. The next one, we're running late. That's an idiom. Again, I think many of you are studying idioms, you're learning idioms because we use this in everyday English. I think idioms are mostly important, not really that feeling like, oh, I need to use them. It's more for your comprehension. So if you're watching TV or movies or listening to a conversation, then you understand what people are talking about. The reason I chose this one, we're running late, is because we posted on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter a question using this idiom about we're running late. And mostly everybody didn't know it. They got it incorrect. So if you're running late, it means that you are running behind schedule. So we were supposed to meet our friends at 7 o'clock, but we were really going to get there at 7:30, so we were running late. A lot of people in their question, they thought it was getting late. That just means it's getting later in the day, the time. This means you are actually behind schedule. You're running late. But if you learn these phrases and idioms, again, it's going to help you build your vocabulary. Running late. Another idiom, so you're once in a blue moon. That's another good one to know that you can use when something does not happen that often. You could say, hey, it happens once in a blue moon. The last one that I have there for you, where there's smoke, there's fire. And this is more of like a proverb. There's many different types of proverbs. The grass is always greener on the other side. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And the reason I think it's good to learn these proverbs, again, because you're learning a group of words. You're not just focusing on one word in the grammar of like, okay, here's my subject, here's my verb, here's the noun. You're kind of learning all the words together and you know what the meaning is. So where there's smoke, there's fire. It basically means that if there is a issue, a problem, but the problem is kind of concealed, it's hidden, but you know it's there, you could kind of say, hey, I see the smoke, all right? And if I see the smoke, then there's probably a fire there. There's probably a major problem that is taking place. Another one of mine, another favorite one of mine is think outside the box. You can see the picture there. Think outside the box means to be more creative, to try to think in a new way and do different things, to think outside the box. This is a good expression that you can use. And again, you don't want to just learn one word, you want to learn the whole sentence, the whole phrase, the whole idiom, the entire expression, so that you can use this, and not only that, you will remember it. We have somebody else mention another favorite quote: "Love yourself first, then everything everything is taking its correct place." Exactly, everything will fall into place. There are so many good idioms, phrases, expressions, proverbs that are going to help you learn context and nuance and learn more about the culture as well. So expressions are very, 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 I'm going to add one more, very important. The last thing that I want to show you right now is this idea about how you can learn these vocabulary words, how you can learn them, and a good approach to do that, and it is called chunking. So here we have our next slide. So what is chunking? All right. Chunking is when you learn groups of words as one unit. So you are taking a group of words and you are learning, okay, what does this group of words mean? And then how can I use it with other words? It's kind of similar to collocations, all right, where collocations, you're looking at words that are frequently used together. This is kind of just expanding on that. So look at the example. Look at the example that I have for you right here, okay? If you have a moment, I was wondering if you'd like to grab some coffee. If you have a moment, I was wondering if you'd like to grab some coffee. Okay, so some of you may be able to read that and okay, I know what that means. If I have time available, this person wants to know if we can go get coffee. Okay? Instead of looking at this and trying to think of, all right, what are these exact words? Let's look at moment and look it up and find out that a moment means, okay, a short period of time. Instead of just looking for that one word, we can look at the entire a phrase, a unit of words. For example, I have if you have a moment. So we can learn all of that together and know that, okay, when we want to ask somebody, do you have some time? Do you have a little time? We could say, if you have a moment, all right? If you have a moment, could you help me with my homework? If you have a moment, I'd like you to go to a movie with me. If you have a moment, asking somebody, do you have some time available? All right. And learning that one set, because once you learn if you have a moment, there are so many ways to complete that sentence. If you have a moment. Then we can break the next chunk. So that is one chunk, if you have a moment. Now let's take the next chunk. I was wondering. All right. I was wondering. Great example. If you have a moment, can we catch up? Yes, perfect. All right. I was wondering. It means that you were thinking about something that you wanted to know. All right. This is often a polite way of asking a question. If you want to be a little more polite, like, I was wondering, could we go out for dinner tonight? Hey, I was wondering, what was your plan for tomorrow? All right. I was wondering is a way of saying, I was thinking about something and you're asking. So again, we know that phrase. If we know that phrase as one unit, I was wondering. we can then add a lot more onto it. So instead of just learning one of the words, we can learn the entire phrase as a unit, and then we can add to it. And this is what chunking is. And if you've seen it probably in phrase books. So if you travel abroad, they sell these books that you can learn quick phrases. And that's typically what they do, is use chunking. They give you the first part of the phrase, and then you need to learn the words that you can complete the phrase. So for example, if you're out at a restaurant, you always would say, hey, I would like blah, blah, blah. I would like a drink. I would like the steak. I would like a hamburger, okay? But you learn that one phrase, I would like, then you can learn a lot. There's so much more that you can add to it. And then the last one in my example, I said, again, like to grab some, all right? This means to grab some means that you want to go get something. And usually that something is a drink or some food, all right? Would you like to grab some coffee? Would you like to grab something to eat? All right. If you want to grab something, it's talking about, this is an idiom that you're talking about, you want to get something. Okay. So we can chunk these sentences. We can take these long sentences and break them into different units, and then we can add to that. So this is the idea of chunking, and it is a great way to study new vocabulary, a great way to learn new sentences, because if you learn a sentence, you can take parts of it and then use that for other things. So if you've joined us a little late, we were talking about ways to enhance your vocabulary. So to review again, the ways that we discussed in this lesson that you should try to study in the future and use if you want to build your vocabulary effectively and quickly. You can use collocations. Again, this is a lot of words that we frequently use together with verbs. Like I said, you can take a shower, you can take a bath, you can take a meeting. Expressions, which would include idioms or proverbs or any sayings. And then this idea, the way that you can study these words is with chunking, where you are not trying to learn too much at one time. You are taking these individual units and you are learning those, and then you can add to that as you go along. So these are all very useful and effective ways to build and expand your vocabulary. So the last thing I want to do is to thank you guys for watching and joining us. We have some great comments like, yeah, I'd like to grab some ice cream. Yeah, I'd like to grab some ice cream too. It's hot here. It's summertime. I'm sure everybody would like to grab some ice cream. Excellent. Great use of that expression. All right. So thank you guys for joining us. Again, please like and share the video if you feel like you've learned something new, if you enjoy learning new vocabulary. The other thing I want you to do is, if you have any questions, write them in the comments. The video will be published soon, or if you're watching this later, at a later date, write your questions in the comments. We like to interact with you. We like to hear what questions you have. And this is very important, I think, for interaction. The other thing, you can join our social media classes on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. We're posting new questions every day. I saw one question that somebody had, Romina asking about, hey, Marco, what's up? Some vocabulary books out there. Honestly, I feel like probably one of the best resources for vocabulary at this point would be the internet, because I don't know if you need to spend money on an actual vocabulary book. I think a book that would tell you tips and ideas, like what we're talking about today, how to study vocabulary, I think that would be useful. But as for actually learning vocabulary, I would just use resources online. Like I said, you can go into Google right now and type in English idioms, and you're going to have a lot of different sites come up that you could then make flashcards and write those down. You could type in English proverbs, and it's going to give you a list of proverbs and what they mean. You could also go to Collocations, English Collocations, and it will tell you a lot of different collocations that you should probably focus on and can study. And also, one thing that I wanted to mention, go use the images. If you go type in this and you go to images, it's much better, I think, because it's going to give you color. It's going to break it down. It's easier to read. It's more fun, too. So that would be my recommendation. If you're trying to study and learn more vocabulary, use the free resource, which is the internet, and just type that stuff into Google. So again, thank you guys for joining us. If you joined a little late, sorry, we're going to publish the video soon. Again, please like and share. Help us spread the word all across the world. We love interacting with you guys. And we appreciate you being here with us. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And if you're watching this later, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will see you next time.